Previously, we talked about how volatility expansion means that there's a wider trading range that prices can trade without being meaningful toward the market direction. And we were seeing that expanding, so that would be good for trading. Now we're starting to see the opposite. We're starting to see it compressing, and we're seeing what is looking like a sort of consolidation range here on the daily chart. So in this video, we're going to talk about how we could potentially see the market get out of this area, how we could also set up ourselves for a trade. And if you're shorter term, if you're an intraday trader, what that's going to mean for your trading activity during the day, and how to limit really it would be a market condition that you would want to limit your trading. You want to be more skeptical during this period of time, but what would kind of signal for us to be a little bit more open to more open-minded in terms of price action if prices were able to kind of get out of this consolidation. So first, here are the sort of landmarks that we have. Yesterday, we have there was a 180-point sell-off overnight. Prices find the low here, fails to really continue up during the day, but dip buyers come in basically into the last hour. There's a settle off of lows, and prices are able to continue up. In the European session last night, we're looking at sell-off into the open, but it fails to do so, so that creates another landmark here at 7,400. There's resistance above here on the from the 120-minute chart, so that's basically at 74.80, so which is basically right where we are currently. So prices need to break through there. And then beyond that, there is the big round number here at 7,500. There's some resistance there, and the 240 chart there has resistance above at 75.12. Sorry, I get interrupted during the middle of the day there, but we're coming here to conclude this video at the end of the day, which does kind of go along with the logic that we were talking about before. We see now we have a high here at the on the day at 74.84 and a quarter. We'll take a look at the intraday price action and how that kind of developed. But it does kind of highlight here now this the 280, or excuse me, the 120 resistance here at the 74.80 roughly. So we can see here, if we try to put ourselves in the position at the start of the European session, right? So we had the sell-off overnight. It kind of fizzled out and put in this low. We talked about that creating sort of a landmark there. We're still seeing this level of resistance holding. We'll see what happens after the session restarts here in about 20 minutes. So intraday, here was the range. So if we start off the day, and we can see here, here's that overnight sell-off. Prices find the low, goes on, makes a new high, and then coming into the start of the day, so here's on my clock 6:30 Pacific, it wants to try to go up towards this high here at 74.67 or 68, and it starts off on a whipsaw. It takes out the lows, or at least the previous low, and then from there, this low basically goes on to just create space to for prices to go on and break the high there, and it goes on to establish the high of day here at 74, basically right at that 120 resistance. Going into the afternoon session, there was a few points where it really is smashed up against resistance. There really wasn't too much to do in terms of trading today. But, here on the test of support here on the 3-minute chart, that would have been a potential entry to look to try to take out the highs. If you kind of micro trade it, if we go down to even a tick chart or whatever, we can look for the reaction to that and seeing the failure for prices to break down through the support. There was some room for prices to take it up to the highs. Today, I basically didn't do any trading. I just put the trade that I'm describing on as a sim trade to just observe the price action going into the highs, just simply because here we see the break to the upside. It's looking positive. It breaks the high by about 4 points. And then it fizzles out. And so this is, basically here into the close. There isn't a real sell-off into the close either. So coming back to what we would be looking for going forward here, there is now the potential on the the failure of today to really show any strength that this 120-minute resistance is the resistance. Obviously, if it trades down, it will need to retest this 7,400 level and also the lows there at the 73. Actually should zoom this back out, 7,300, and there's a number of points along the way that are going to serve as roadblocks, but on the short side, there is more room for prices to go in terms of a trade setup. I do want to add at this point in the video that the status quo is still strength in the market. So we see from the December lows, prices came up, really in a strong way up to resistance, breaking through that, up to the highs, taking out the highs, making new highs, and then this pullback here to the weekly support. We did see the reaction off of that level, and thus far, we can't just assume that this is going to be the break to the downside. The reason why I'm focusing on this on the downside is that if this 2-hour chart, the resistance on this 2-hour chart holds, we're real close to that level. We've got some room for prices to trade down to, even this 7,400 level, and that would be plenty enough profit to see what happens. If prices are able to come down and show us that we're wrong, then it's easy to exit and take some profit. But anything to the upside is really just smashed too much against resistance, and I think that's going to be, not that there's not room for it to trade, but it's just going to be much messier price action. So I think we forego that as a potential opportunity, because I think that if there is a real move to the upside, that we're going to get another chance in a much more obvious way. Of course, the market doesn't care what we want. So, if it does go up, then I think the prudent thing is to kind of just observe. And again, if there is a good move, I think there will be a better trade setup.